Welcome to the City of Dreams, a place defined by sunshine. But beneath the palm trees, an invisible crisis that is quietly choking the life out of 1.5 million Los Angeles residents. This is not the visible crisis of street homelessness, though it's intrinsically linked. This is a hidden financial strain faced by hundreds of thousands of working Angelenos. We are talking about the hidden rent burden. The accepted benchmark says housing shouldn't exceed 30% of your income. In LA County, however, an astonishing 59% of all renters are officially cost-burdened, constantly teetering on the edge. This number leaps to nearly 77% for extremely low-income households, who are forced to sacrifice over half of their monthly earnings just to pay rent. We're going deep into the financial architecture of the City of Angels to reveal how this math no longer adds up, and how this crisis is quietly reshaping the social fabric of one of America's greatest cities. LA's true cost. The common financial guideline dictates that housing costs should not exceed 30% of a household's income, yet for the typical renter in the Los Angeles area, this limit is a fiction. The median rent-to-income ratio in LA is approximately 35.1%, meaning the average renter is officially classified as cost-burdened. The problem is far more acute for low-income households. Nearly 77% of extremely low-income households are classified as severely cost-burdened, forced to spend over half of their income just to keep a roof overhead. To afford the average asking rent of approximately $2,498 per month, a renter would need to earn roughly $48.04 per hour. That is nearly triple the city's minimum wage. This immense disparity is the invisible crisis, forcing Angelenos to make impossible trade-offs between rent, food, and health care, fundamentally redefining what it means to live and work in the City of Dream. Beyond the $3,000 sticker price. The problem with LA's rent isn't just a sheer number. It's the crushing proportion it demands from a worker's monthly paycheck. When you see an average rental price of $2,498, it triggers a far deeper crisis than a simple budget adjustment. The official standard for financial health says you should spend no more than 30% of your gross income on housing. For that $2,498 rent, you would need an annual income of nearly $100,000 just to stay within the healthy limit. If you earn the median household income in LA, that rent figure immediately jumps your rent-to-income ratio far past the 30% mark, labeling you as cost-burdened. This sticker price is merely the entry point to a financial treadmill where essential workers, teachers, nurses, and service staff are permanently forced into a state of financial precarity, living paycheck to paycheck with zero savings buffer. This is the invisible burden behind the price. Tag: food versus rent. The impossible choice. For a vast majority of Los Angeles' severely rent-burdened households, those spending over 50% of their income on housing, the family budget is an equation with no solution. This economic squeeze forces a devastating trade-off encapsulated by the grim phrase, "The rent eats first." A 2019 study of LA renters found that over 60% of rent-burdened households reported cutting back on food, while nearly half delayed bill payments or took on debt just to afford their housing. When housing takes up 50 cents or more of every dollar earned, money for nutritious food, essential medicine, and children's education simply vanishes. This is why food insecurity in LA County, even after modest declines, affects about 1 in 4 households, a rate well above the national average, making the hidden crisis of rent burden a direct public health emer. Gency, who pays the most? The invisible demographics. The rent burden isn't felt equally. It is a crisis overwhelmingly concentrated among low-wage essential workers and communities of color. Approximately 80% of extremely low-income households in Los Angeles County are severely cost-burdened, meaning they spend over half of their income on rent. For professionals like teachers, assistants, and food service workers, rent burden rates can soar to 50% or higher, far exceeding the 31% rate for teachers. Furthermore, data reveals a stark racial disparity. Black and Hispanic/Latinx renters are significantly more likely to be rent-burdened than their white and Asian counterparts. This demographic data proves that the city's housing crisis is not a random misfortune. It's a systemic failure where the people who keep the city running are the ones who can least afford to live. In it, the second job trap. For too many Angelenos, the hidden rent burden forces them into the relentless treadmill of the second job trap. In a city where the required hourly wage to afford a median two-bedroom rental is over $48.04, minimum wage earners simply cannot make the math work with a single 40-hour week. Instead, they are forced to juggle two, sometimes three, part-time or low-wage jobs just to cover housing costs. Research indicates that this pervasive need for multiple jobs significantly increases the rates of work-related stress and fatigue, particularly among service and retail employees. These individuals often sacrifice essential sleep, family time, and opportunity for education or career advancement, ultimately leading to a cycle of perpetual financial and physical exhaustion. The second job isn't a choice for building savings. It's a desperate necessity to avoid losing the roof over thee. IR heads, the luxury first, building boom. Take a look at any major intersection in LA, and you'll see a gleaming high-rise promising rooftop pools and granite countertops. This is the luxury first, building boom, and it's fundamentally misaligned with the city's affordability needs. Historically, nearly 90% of new housing units constructed in Los Angeles have been at market rate or higher, leaving an enormous gap in deeply affordable housing. While some economic theory suggests that building luxury units eventually frees up older, cheaper housing, the reality in LA is a stark imbalance. The city has recently seen a high vacancy rate, around 13.1%, in these expensive new luxury apartments, proving the market for $3,500 per month rentals is becoming saturated. Meanwhile, affordable housing construction struggles, often accounting for less than 10% of new units due to complex regulations, despite recent attempts to streamline the process for developers. The net effect? Redefining affordable, the LA proposal. When policymakers talk about affordable housing, they usually mean housing designated for households earning 80% or less of the area median income AMI. In Los Angeles County, where the AMI is approximately $106,600 for a four-person household, this means a family could earn over $84,850 and still qualify for a low-income unit, a figure far beyond the wages of minimum wage or service workers. The actual need is concentrated at the extremely low-income ELI level, which is only 30% of AMI, or just $31,850 for a single person. To address this gap, recent LA proposals, such as those within the housing element, emphasize the need for new housing production to explicitly target these ELI and very low-income tiers, where the financial sacrifice of the rent burden is most severe. Programs like Executive Directive No. 1, ED1, aim to drastically cut approval times for projects serving low-income households, hoping to shift development away from the luxury market and toward where the crisis is deepest.